Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Tristan from craftingworlds.com. Today I'm going to bring you a little slight deviation of what my normal videos are because I thought this video might be helpful to those of you who own a Nintendo Switch and have had troubles where the fan inside breaks, therefore your Nintendo Switch turns off because it overheats every couple of minutes. This can also apply to those of you that have a fan that is making a high-pitched, very loud noise. I'm going to give you two different ways to solve this. One, I'm going to show you how easy it is to repair and just replace the fan. And second, I'm going to show you a way, if you're less inclined to open up your Switch, to put an adapter on your Switch, which will allow it to have the proper airflow and not overheat. I'm going to show this first because it's quick. And then I will go and I'm going to break down the entire opening up of the Switch and show you exactly how to take your Switch apart, what parts you need, and how it all works once it's broken down, and how to replace that fan properly. So the first step, if you don't want to, open up your Switch and mess with screws and fan replacements and thermal paste and stuff like that, is to just get this item. This is a radiator fan blower for your Switch. Out of the box, it looks like this, very simple. It's got a display on the front, it's got fan ports on the bottom, and it's got fan ports on the top. Very simple device that just goes over the fans on your Switch like this. It creates a seal and it will help to blow the air out. And if your fan is dead on the inside, it'll actually help to rotate that fan as well. So this is your simplest methodology. And I'm going to show you how to install that right now. Okay, here it is, the radiator for the Switch. It has a back plate that needs to be attached just by pushing in the three little knobs there. You just put a little pressure, boom, snaps in. You're all set. Now, you also have a USB cable, so you're going to want to plug that in so it gets power. So you plug in the micro USB to there, and then you're going to plug the USB into the side of the Switch. So here's the USB adapters on the dock, and just go ahead and plug that in. It will automatically power up your device and the LEDs will come on. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find the fan area, and you're going to want to line up on this fan here. That is the exhaust. You're going to want to line up the device and just kind of slide it in there with a little bit of pressure, and boom. It's going to snap on, it's going to make a nice seal, and it's going to allow the air to basically pull out of your device once it's plugged in like that. And as you can see, if you lift up, it's over the fan itself. And then on the bottom here, it has an opening. And so that seal is allowing it to pull the air out of your Switch, just like the fan on the inside of your Switch did. But this is an external one. And that's it. Now you can make adjustments to the fan speed itself. The right button makes it go down, so it'll go slower, meaning it'll pump less air. It'll also be a lot more quiet. And then if you want it to go faster, you just go ahead and hit the left button, and it will go up in speed. And the fan will get noticeably louder as you go higher. So 6,000, you will hear it. That's 6,000 RPMs, rotations per minute, essentially. But the faster it goes, the more air it's going to pull out, more of the heated air, and the cooler your Switch will run, and that display will show the temperature of the inside of your Switch. The hot air that's coming out, it's taking a generalized idea of what that temperature is. And that's it. If you put your hand over the top, you'll actually feel the air coming out and being pushed out, so you know it's working. Now, for those of you that want to tinker a little more and don't want to keep your Switch in the dock and you want to replace the fan completely, it is super simple, and I'm going to show you how to do it in 20 minutes or less. Links to every item you need to get this done as efficiently as possible will be in the description below. So first, you're going to need a replacement fan. It's like $10 on Amazon. Then you're going to need two screwdrivers. One is a normal Phillips head screwdriver, and the other is a tri-head screwdriver where it has 1, 2, 3. So it's going to look like a peace sign, essentially. And these are the proprietary screws that are in your Nintendo Switch. So you have to order at least the tri-head screwdriver if you already have the Phillips head. And last but not least, thermal paste. Easy, cheap, inexpensive, also on Amazon. You could have all this stuff delivered to you tomorrow and have this repair done in 20 minutes and you'll have a brand new working switch the next day. The fan that I ordered in the link in the description below is silent. So for those of you that have had that squealing noise and that screeching sound, this fan works better in terms of airflow while not getting louder. When it spools up and it has to, push out more air because the switch is getting hotter, you've been using it for a longer period of time. So let's jump down, take a look at how to break it apart, how to replace your fan, and how to fix your Nintendo Switch. Okay, so you're going to want to have all your parts together here. And so we have the fan, and then you're going to take your Nintendo Switch, make sure it's powered off, and you want to take off both of the Joy-Cons. Put them to the side. Make sure you have a nice soft place to place the switch so it doesn't get damaged on the front. But here's the locations of all those tri-head screws that I talked about earlier. It's 4 on the, each corner, and then 1 underneath that little kickstand. So you're going to want to get the tri-head screwdriver. This is the Phillips, and the tri-head here, you can see by that little peace sign, you're going to want to use that one. So let's go ahead and pull out all those little screws with the tri-head screwdriver. Now you're going to want to get the Phillips head screwdriver, as you can see, and undo the 2 screws on the bottom by the USB-C port. Then you're going to want to flip it over, and you're going to want to take out the one on the top. Next, you're going to want to turn it to its side, and the middle screw, which is a Phillips head screw, you're going to want to take that out on both sides. There is one on either side where the Joy-Cons would go. So take out one on one side and then go ahead and flip your switch, and you're going to see it on the other side. Now, once you've taken out all the screws, the back plate will pop right off. You can use a flathead screwdriver to kind of pop it, but I could just use my hands here, and it literally just pops right off. Set it to the side, and here's the inside of your Nintendo Switch. And there's your broken fan right in the middle there. Now, there's more screws, so you're not done yet. But that is your fan, and we're going to get there. But we have to take this heatsink plate first off of the top. So there's screws in the top left. There are also screws in the bottom right, as well as the top right. Remember to put all your screws in somewhere you can remember so you don't lose any. These are very important. You don't want to lose. Once you've taken those out, there's actually another one on the bottom right that you want to take out, as well as the bottom left. Now there is a screw here, and this is where your USB card goes. So this is the USB card slot. And then there's one more screw right in the center by the fan. You want to grab that one out, and then the plate should just pull right off very gently. Just grab from the top, and it will snap out. There you go. Okay, now your heatsink has been revealed, which is holding the fan in, as well as this is what dissipates the heat from your CPU of the Nintendo Switch. So there's 3 screws here. You just take those 3 screws out on the bottom, on the left, and then on the top right here. You're just going to take those out. It's the Phillips head screwdriver once again. Now you're just going to take a flathead screwdriver and you're going to slowly kind of push up to release the heatsink itself. Now the pieces of fabric that are on there, those are just there to keep it so that the airflow from the fan is constantly pushing upward. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to kind of take your Phillips head screwdriver, you're going to want to take your flathead screwdriver and you want to get under there so it doesn't rip. You want to get, as well as you can. I ripped mine a little bit. It's not a big deal if you rip it a little bit. It just keeps the seal there when the heatsink is on there so that the air flows upward. So as you can see, there's a couple pieces there. Not a big deal. But there's your heatsink, and it already has thermal paste on it, as you can see on the processor itself. and just put that over to the side. And now we can access the fan. Now that is held in by 3 screws of itself, and you need the Phillips head screwdriver to do that. So we're just going to go ahead and take the Phillips head, and we're going to unscrew the 3 screws on the fan itself. We're getting there. Try not to rush at this point. We're still, slow and steady wins the race here. So now that you've removed those 2 screws, you actually have to go over to this left part here and remove 3 screws. 1 on the bottom here, and then 2 on the top piece of plastic. These are actually holding in a piece of the motherboard that is going to reveal the 3rd screw of the fan. So you can't pull the fan out yet. So make sure that you don't do that, and remove that little piece of plastic, put it somewhere safe because you are going to need that. It holds everything down. And here's where you're going to need a flathead screwdriver, because you need to pop the little attachment on the bottom part there. Just it's in there, and you just kind of pop it out, and then that will fold over, which will reveal the 3rd screw. And then just go ahead and take your Phillips head screwdriver and unscrew that one. And this will release your fan completely. Remember that the fan is plugged in, so you're gonna be pulling out a cable with this. So here's your fan, and then it just comes right out, and it also pulls the cable out with it. Now you're not gonna want to discard that fan yet, because there are little washers made of rubber that you're gonna want to take from that old fan that don't come with the new fan, and you're gonna want to slide them into the screw slots in the new fan. This makes it so that the fan doesn't jiggle around and move while the switch is operating. So just take those out gently, and then just gently put them into the new slots of the new fan. Once that's done, you're going to want to take the new fan and slide the little cable into that little slot, which you can then use like some tweezers to kind of push it in a little bit more. Do not push hard, just gently guide it in, and then there's a little fold over that you're just going to snap it in, and it'll hold it in place. Just be very gentle, and then snap that little fold over right there, and boom, it'll hold it in place. And now you can adjust the fan to be in the proper positioning to line up with the screws. Just take your time here. It gets a little bit confusing there, but once it's in, it's solid, you'll feel it, and you can see that there's no jiggle. Now, go to that place where you kept all your screws very securely, and you remember which one goes where, and you can go ahead and start screwing them back in. Once you're done putting all 3 screws back into the fan, you want to just bend that piece over again, that chip, and you want to make sure that the slot piece, where you see my finger is right there, snaps into the slot in the bottom. You have to make sure you line it up properly. Just be very gentle. It took me a few tries here, but once you get it, you'll hear it, snap into place. And you just gently find it, and eventually it'll slide into the slot. And once see, as you can see, it doesn't come back up. Now you want to start putting the screws back into that piece, as well as that plastic piece that goes on top. You want to put that on top and then screw that back in there to make sure it's secure. Okay, so this is where you're going to want to grab your heatsink and your thermal paste. And you're going to want to put a little dab of thermal paste on the back side of the heatsink. So where it makes contact with the processor, you want to put a little bit on there, like a little dab. See how it's just a little ball. And when you push down, it'll spread out all by itself. I opted not to take the old thermal paste off. You can take the old thermal paste off and clean it up with like alcohol and a little Q-tip. But honestly, through my years of building, I don't find that it's necessary. So just with that little dab, it'll probably add enough. And it felt like the thermal paste wasn't dry and everything was fine. So it's up to you on that if you want to go the extra mile. Then you want to, make sure to screw in all the pieces on the heatsink, make sure it's lined up. And now we're going to want to grab the metal plate and make sure that everything aligns. And then what I did was I took some thermal paste and I just placed it on where the thermal paste was before. I scratched a little bit of it off and then I just placed a little dollop right in the center there and then placed it right over and made sure to put good pressure on it so that it will spread out evenly. See, you just put a little pressure and then you should be good there. Like I said, you can go the extra mile and you can take off the old thermal paste, but I didn't find that necessary. Now this area, that is the USB right there. You're going to need to make sure that where the black piece is, that you push down on that because there's another chip that needs to snap into there so that your USB reader is installed. When you pull that plate off, it does pull that out of the motherboard. So you just have to put a little pressure there and it will put the USB back into place. And then you just go ahead and put in the rest of the screws. And we're almost there. We're pretty much done. At this point, you could put the back plate on when you're done putting all these screws in, but I would highly suggest that you turn on your switch, holding it on the plastic bits to make sure that when you start it up, that your fan starts up as well. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to test that out. And it is spinning. And it's working. Now that we made sure we didn't do any damage and then it turns back on, we're just going to go ahead and pop it right onto the back plate there. Put a little bit of pressure until you hear it click on all sides. And then we're going to start putting all of the screws back in. And first, remember to power down your device and then go ahead and get your proprietary screws, the Y ones. First, actually, you can do the Phillips head ones on the side and you just put those in, and then you can get the Y ones and put them in the back. So I went with all the Phillips heads so I didn't have to keep swapping between the different tools. Then you get your tri-tip screws and you can just start unscrewing those back in. One goes underneath by the SD card, and then you can go ahead and put the SD card back in, and then one goes on either corner of the switch itself. And you're almost done, but you have 3 more screws to go. 2 on the bottom by the USB port, and then 1 on the top by the power button. Or by the fan, I should say. And here I'm just making sure everything is sealed nice and tightly. And there it is. You can go ahead and put your game cartridge back in. Put your Joy-Cons back on. Power on, and your switch is fixed. Awesome. Amazing. Works great. Fan is silent and keeps your switch nice and cool. So there you have it. The switch is working. It is running very cool. I checked the temperatures. Long play sessions, it can go up to about 37 to 40 Celsius, and normal idle, it's definitely around the 30s. When the fan was broken, we were spiking up into the 60s, and that's when it starts to overheat, and that's when it starts to shut down. One thing I would like to mention is that you can actually use the radiator and your new fan in conjunction. So if your new fan is going well and the radiator is also pumping out well, that adds extra cooling. This is the only one that I've ever seen. There's a lot of docks that try to cool it from the back and stuff like that, but this one actually goes to the source and pulls that hot air out. So with this on top of your switch in docked mode, you're definitely going to be running cooler, and you may get longer life out of your switch. So if you want, you can replace the fan and you can use the radiator. If you're a novice and you're afraid of, going into your switch and replacing the fan, I'd say try this first. If that doesn't work, then definitely give it a shot, because it's really not that hard, as you can see, and you can get it done in about 20 to 30 minutes. And you need only a couple of tools and probably $30. It'll save you a lot of money. Nintendo charges about $150 to do it themselves. So there you go. Anyway, I hope this was easy and comprehensible. If you have any questions about the process or you need any help, feel free to ask in the comments below. Also, remember, if you like this, hit the little subscribe button and the bell icon if you want notifications. And as always, I will see you in the next video.